going to go ahead and get started. You want to grab a seat? Cool. Well, welcome everyone. I am Brandon Zelasko. I'm a principal at SE2. We are a behavior change marketing and communications firm based out of Denver, and we specifically focus in the area of public health. And I, along with Kent, who will introduce himself in a moment, are going to present to you. You are getting the first preview of the AG's new youth and parent opioid and fentanyl education campaign. Yeah.
Hi everyone. As Brandon said, I'm Kent MacLennan. I'm the executive director for Rise Above Colorado. We are a statewide youth prevention organization. Our vision is empowering youth to make healthy connections, decisions, and change. And we're really excited to be here today to be part of this, working on this with SE2 and the opportunity to work with the AG's office and their amazing team in developing this campaign that we're going to share with you a little bit of the background, how we got to the campaign that you're seeing today, and we're excited about sharing kind of what's next. So as we hopefully advance slides, or not. It's running about half an hour late too. Oh, here we go. Right.
Yeah, do you want to just tell everyone, if you're looking at the schedule and you're like, what is going on? We're about a little bit like 40 minutes late, but we've actually put in a buffer. Right? Yay! So we will still have our food trucks on time. And then for everyone that's on virtual, one more apology about talking about the food trucks. But we have some amazing panels. We've got a youth panel, lived experience panel, some amazing stories. So thank you all for being here. And we're so excited about the launch of this campaign. So you all, again, for your eyes only, this has really not been shared with anyone else. So thank you, and we'll turn it back. So don't worry about the time.
Cool. All right. Yes, so we're going to share a little bit of the background. We're going to show you the campaign itself, and then we're going to start talking about how you can get involved. And this is a long-term process. This is not something that's just here for a little bit. We're in this for a while, as you all know, and we're just excited to be able to get something started and give you tools to work with. So just a little bit of background on the approach that we took with this campaign. We talked to a lot of people. And it really was our job to make sure that we were able to talk to experts around the country. This is obviously a quickly changing landscape and very new to most of us, but we really wanted to rely on some experts in a number of key fields, subject matter experts that can help us. We talked to folks both nationally and locally. We did a number of interviews and discussion groups and panels. So you can see on here, we had discussion groups with youth, we did, as well as a statewide poll of about 350 youth that participated to help inform this campaign at a variety of different points in the campaign. So it wasn't just we took some basic research and then never came back. This has been an iterative process with them, as well as with parents. We talked to about 250 parents by getting their input on content. So that's how we got there, and where we got there you can see from the map. So we really, again, this is a statewide campaign. We are doing our best to make this something that has a look and feel that works in your communities to the best of our ability when in a full statewide campaign in a state as diverse as ours. But we talk to folks all over. We have a Teen Action Council from Rise Above Colorado that is statewide, and so you'll see some of the dots on there that show our youth representative that gave us input along the way a couple different times, as well as the folks that participated in panel discussions from recovery high schools and other youth serving groups to be able to inform this. So a little bit of what we learned in all those conversations. First of all, the vast majority of Colorado youth are making healthy choices. The data bears this out. Whatever the survey is that you're looking at, we saw this and we want to promote it, and you'll see that as to how that comes into play in the campaign. Secondly, the other thing there is a misperception gap as well that exists both for Colorado youth and for us as parents, where we are overestimating the number of peers in youth case that are using substances and making unhealthy choices, and therefore underestimating those that are making those healthy choices. So that was one of the things that we definitely saw in the data that we've collected, not only for this campaign, but in previous data sets around the state. And so finally, a social norms marketing campaign is one that will reduce the misperception, this gap in misperception that we just talked about, and encourage young people to make healthy choices. And so that's where we landed with this campaign. We, at both SC2 and Rise Above, have been in this work and working in this space for a while. And I can tell you, both of us didn't think that we were going to end up in this space talking about social norms as the way to go with this campaign when we started, even though we've had some experience in it. But that's where the data and the research and the conversations led us to. So that really is informed by those decisions and those discussions.
All right, so I'm going to share a few other learnings that we had as part of our discovery process. So let me see if that works. So we know also that adults can be influenced to engage in productive and proactive conversations. Now that might seem like a, duh. But, we do a lot of campaigns with parents, and one of the biggest barriers that we hear on issues, any sort of public health, behavioral health issue, is that parents just are really not comfortable or confident in their ability to have these conversations. And so, we see this campaign as an opportunity, and we built this campaign as an opportunity to help parents feel more comfortable initiating those conversations with the young people in their lives, trusted adults as well, so that they can, get fact-based information and be ready to make informed decisions about their own health. We also know, and we're very sensitive to make sure that we aren't developing a campaign that might inadvertently stigmatize people who use drugs. And we also know, if you were in the previous prevention conversation, or if you've just done this work for a while, that scare tactics do not work. We have tested many times scare tactic campaigns with young people, and they just completely fail to resonate. And so this was not an avenue that we wanted to pursue for this particular campaign. And we also know, just because there's a lot of sensitivity with a statewide campaign, of course, there's a lot of sensitivity in regions about what is comfortable to talk about in terms of harm reduction strategies, right? So we know fentanyl testing strips, for example, are a really important and critical harm reduction strategy. Well, that probably doesn't play in some of the counties and regions that you represent. And so we built this campaign around what were the most widely accepted and palatable, so to speak, harm reduction strategies that we could promote as actions that young people and adults could engage in to protect Colorado youth. So, who is the campaign for? And this is really important in a key distinction with maybe some of the other work that you've seen during the symposium or that's happening out in your regions. So, based on our research, we identified that we wanted to target and target our intervention at young people who are pretty young. We're talking about essentially middle school students. So we're talking 10 to 14-year-olds. The intentionality behind that is that, as Kent was describing, the data do show that young people, especially in this age group, are not engaging in misusing pills. And so a social norming approach that says young people are not doing it is congruent with what they are seeing around them. We also know from best practices in public health that early intervention is really critical, right? Like if we can get young people educated and engaged about these issues and these topics well ahead of time, that will serve them throughout their adolescence and into young adulthood. So that's why we wanted to target this intervention to this age group specifically. There is, of course, some bleed over with older youth, ages 15 to 18, and they are a secondary audience of the campaign. So what did the campaign seek to do? So we identified the following objectives. These are pretty universal for both versions of the campaign, the parent and youth versions of the campaign. The first is that, as Kent described, we wanted to make sure that young people and parents know about the positive social norms. And this is really important, especially when parents are talking to young people. if they're talking about this as an epidemic and everyone is using, that's sending the inadvertent message that this is actually more normal a behavior amongst their peers than it actually is. So we want to make sure that parents understand the actual data, but then are also equipped to talk about it in a developmentally appropriate way with their young people. We also know that young people need fact-based information. So that doesn't mean that we need to scare them, but they do need to know, for example, that a lot of the pills that they may think they would potentially use are probably counterfeit pills, and that they probably contain fentanyl in them. And so those very real risks need to be communicated in this campaign, but not in a scary way. As Kent describes, balancing that sort of hope and concern around the issue, right? We also know that young people can be really good and powerful active bystanders in the campaign. So how do we impart information on them that helps them, as they see these risky behaviors happening around them with a friend, for example, actually step up and take action to protect a friend? And by and large, this is a message that we tested with young people, and it resonated overwhelmingly well, that young people want to help their friends who are struggling. And as you'll see in some of the creative here in a moment, that became a key tenet of the campaign. We also want to enforce or reinforce protective skills, for example, how to refuse if offered a pill, making sure that we are also creating an environment where we are normalizing the conversations amongst young people and normalizing the conversations between parents and youth, because this too is something that we hear from parents is they're afraid that by talking about it and bringing light to these issues that might make young people curious about experimenting with substances. So we want to sort of dispel those myths. And then lastly, as you've probably heard the AG talk about, just the power of connection. Connection is an antidote to some of the really negative and adverse health behaviors that we're seeing with young people, mental health challenges that we're seeing with young people. And so we really glommed onto this idea of the power of connection as the core of this campaign. So I present to you, we need a drum roll, the campaign, which is called the Connect Effect. So I'm gonna first give you a little bit of, I'm going to read through the brief that we presented to the AG's office, and then I'll show you the creative. The brief is important just so you understand kind of where we're coming from with the campaign. So I'm going to try to do two things here at once. Okay. All right, so by highlighting the profound impact that authentic connections can have, the Connect Effect will inspire Colorado youth and parents and trusted adults to be catalysts for positive change with their peer group and the community, and empower audiences to recognize their own power to make a difference. It will illustrate the ripple effect that occurs when individuals build connections and work together to prevent youth pill and opioid misuse. Ultimately, the Connect Effect aims to instill a sense of responsibility, compassion, and resilience. It encourages individuals to recognize their inherent potential to positively influence lives and communities through meaningful connections, emphasizing that each of us has the capacity to create an environment of support, understanding, and protection against the misuse of pills and opioids. And so let's take a look at the campaign. So we're going to start with the youth materials, and we're going to start by showing you one of several campaign videos that we've produced, which feature real Colorado youth sharing the key messages for the campaign.
Our generation faces great challenges,
but we also show great strength.
We turn to each other for support.
To make healthy choices for our minds and our bodies.
That means not using pills not prescribed to us. 88.5% of Colorado youth don't use substances to cope with or overcome negative feelings. And they also stop a friend from experimenting with pills.
That's the Connect Effect.
You.
Me.
Us.
Looking out for each other.
Speaking up.
Making healthy choices.
Be a part of the Connect Effect. Get tips to protect yourself and your friends at connecteffectco.org.
Right. So as I was just articulating with some of the strategic keys for the campaign, really elevating the messages around the positive social norms, wanting to be there to protect one another, and as a call to action, offering young people the opportunity to go to our campaign website to access numerous resources that we've prepared and that presumably will continue to grow, so that they can be those good, positive advocates and role models amongst their peer groups. So that, again, is just one of the campaigns. So this is a look at some of the poster materials, which, by the way, you may have seen large stacks of materials out front. There is a stack of materials that have been printed for each of the regions. They're numbered out there, so make sure to pick them up when you head out. I hope you didn't pack your suitcase too heavy because they weigh like 30 pounds each, so sorry.
And just for everyone to know, Brandon spent maybe like 3 hours doing this all, and so we're really hoping to have every region take a pack and for you to give it to all your partners. So that's the intention, is you really go home, and we will be upset if you don't take them, we'll be hurt. But really, we want to get it not just to you, but you can send it out to your community to take more than you think you need.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. So, so this is a look at 3 of the posters you see here. I'll call your attention to the last one that reads, "Most Colorado youth would try to stop a friend from using a pill that could contain fentanyl," and the rest of the copy is really small. So it says, "We know the risks of misusing pills because a lot of pills are laced with fentanyl. We see a friend in danger and we support them." Sorry, it's really small. And then there's the call to action there. So you can you have the power to save a life. See how at the Connect Effect website. All right, then we also have some collateral materials that we've prepared. These include both printed collateral, but also more importantly, digital collateral that young people can save to their phones. We've heard from young people that they want to, like in their phone gallery, save little graphics and information about, like, if I saw a friend, like how would I talk to them? Or if I am worried about a friend who might be overdosing, what would I do to act? So there's a lot of digital downloads that are available on the website for young people to keep with them at all times. And speaking of the website, this is a look at it. It's like the top quarter of it. So you can check it out after the session. But on the website, we also know that one of the really important activities that we can give to young people to impart knowledge about these issues are interactive quizzes. And so we do have a section of the website, it's kind of small in the top right corner there, that have a series of questions where they can kind of test their knowledge about the issues, and if they get it wrong, there's some information there where they can learn a little bit more for next time. Then there are also, as I mentioned, some of those digital downloads and other kind of interactive cards that you can play with to learn more about the various issues. Those include how to spot an overdose, how to talk to a friend, how to get Narcan, how to use Narcan, and a number of other issues that we cover on the campaign website. Then on the parent campaign, here, we're showing some of the posters that we've developed for parents. These are also in your packet. The parent campaign includes both English and Spanish. You may ask, why is the campaign not in Spanish for young people? And by and large, we hear in Colorado, virtually all young people are at least bilingual. And so we diverted campaign resources instead to make sure that the parent and adult campaign was in Spanish instead. And so you can see here the poster. And this is really highlighting the power of that conversation and the connection with young people. You see that in the headline, that they're listening to you, really. And I'm not going to try and read it because I don't want to do that whole thing again. But it highlights some information about the percent of young people who have expressed that they have talked to their parent. Back to the point of social norming, that is the social norming strategy, right? When we say to parents, most young people report that they've talked to a parent about these issues. If I'm a parent that hasn't talked to young people about the issues, there is that sort of social pressure that maybe that is something that I should be doing, talking to the young people in my life about this issue. So a good little positive push there to get them to do that. And then this is a look at some of the display ads that we've produced. Again, highlighting primarily the messages about the importance of and the number of parents who are having conversations with young people about pill misuse. And many of the calls to action in this campaign are offering tips for parents to get information about how to have more productive and effective conversations with young people. And when they click on the ads, they're driven to a number of different campaign collateral assets. So this includes some digital materials. That's what you're seeing over on the left. And then on the right-hand side is just like an insight panel of a rack card that we've produced that, again, help to provide education to parents about these issues that we know they know a little bit about, but don't know enough about to feel comfortable to have those conversations with youth. And then, much like the youth website, the parent website is shown here. Kind of looks the same. There is some obviously different content for parents about how to have these conversations. And there is some more in-depth information for parents about harms and risks, accessing Narcan and so on and so forth. Just a little bit more detail that a parent would be more likely to get into versus a young person. And for parents as well, and perhaps you in the audience, if you may feel uncomfortable having conversations with young people and need some tips to do that, those are down at the bottom there, some, again, digital cards that you can save to your phone to help have around to give you the confidence to have the conversation when the time presents itself. So, as Jamie said, the media campaign is just launching. We actually had planned to launch it on the 14th, but we put it on hold because we wanted you all to see it first. So the campaign will be launching tomorrow, and this is, again, statewide, and we are using a number of different media. So for youth primarily, but also for adults, we will have ads on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. We will be using streaming audio. So this is like in podcast placements, for example. And then lastly, as you saw just a few slides ago, some display advertising. So like banner ads that run on websites. We're launching this first phase with the intent of collecting information about how the campaign performs, and then later at the end of this calendar year and beginning into next calendar year, we'll be reassessing, maybe retooling some things based on what we learned, and we will be launching the next iteration of the campaign, again, that will be running statewide in both English and Spanish, through the majority of 2024. So what's coming next? Well, one cool thing, and SC2 is really proud to make this a part of all of our public health campaigns, is a mini grant strategy. So we know that the AG's office is just one of many trusted messengers that needs to get the word out about the issue. And so what we have put into our work plan with the AG's office is to provide small grants of several $1,000s to many community partners where they can take and use, share, and disseminate these materials in a way that they feel is most appropriate for their community or the populations that they serve. And so that mini grant opportunity we're just beginning to plan now, and that will be launching towards the very end of the year into the beginning of next year, concurrent with the second phase of the paid media campaign. So be on the lookout for more information on that.
And I just want to say with the mini grants, that was one of the reasons we thought that this proposal was better than others, because we know just having an ad campaign that sits on the shelf or sits in a website is not going to be effective. And so this proposal that came from SC2 and Rise Above actually said we're going to have communities giving mini grants to get the word out. And so we know it's going to look different for each group, and you're going to be better at targeting, culturally appropriate and marginalized groups, but also just who you know regionally. So we're really looking forward to giving out information about how you can access those mini grants.
And as Jeannie was just setting up for me, having the campaign not just sit on the shelf, this is the part where you all get to take out your phone and do something. So what can you do? You can share the Connect effect. So we've included on this slide here a little QR code that's going to link you over to a Google Drive that has all of the campaign resources. As I mentioned also, there's a huge heavy packet of them sitting out on the table outside the room. So what can you do? We're asking y'all, all the regions and partners, to share the videos, the website, and the campaign content. You can do that by sharing it on your website, on your social media channels, through your newsletters, or any of the collateral that you're using to communicate to the different constituencies in your community. So everything that we've produced thus far is there, and as we add new materials over the coming year plus, they will continue to be updated and added to that Google Drive. There is one other thing that you can do if you are curious about learning more, is that SC2 and Rise Above Colorado are available to also help customize materials for regions and place local media buys. So we do have regional data around percent of young people who would take any number of the different actions that we have called out in the campaign. And so if you said, hey, I would like a version of this campaign that's more regionalized for our community, that is something that SC2 and Rise Above can help with. We can also, if it is part of how you're intending to use abatement dollars, plan local versions of this by pretty cheaply and cost effectively so that you can really boost the campaign in your community. And so that is how those QR codes are how you can get a hold of Kent or me to learn more about how we can support you with that. And that is the Connect Effect. Do you want to? Transition? All right, great. Oh, let me just mention. So if you have any questions, Kent's going to start a session now with young people talking about using the campaign. I will be out with the super heavy packets on the table outside if you have any questions or want to learn more about the campaign. So thank you.
You know, it's the end of the day when I'm too lazy to get up on the stage, and I'm just like, I'm going to sit here and do the next session. But really, we wanted to make sure with the next session, I'll let Kent lead it off, is that it's one thing for adults to say this is what works, but we actually have youth to give their opinion on the materials because it's targeted for 10 to 14-year-olds, and I'll tell you,